Right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our special meeting, Monday, January 24th. We are going to call the meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Tonight is a special meeting to discuss the Superintendent's proposed budget for 2022-2023. Before we begin, I just want to let you know that if the meeting is not adjourned by 6:45, we will recess to go to the basketball game because they will be honoring Coach Mike V, the basketball coach who has recently passed away. So it's going to be a very special game. So we are going to go there if the meeting is not over, just so you all know. I also would like to just briefly address the recommendation that I made at the last meeting to dismantle the Social Justice and Equity Committee. I did, in fact, recommend that the advisory committee be dismantled. That word was used intentionally and purposefully. When you dismantle, you can mantle it back together as opposed to dissolving. So this is going to be included in our next agenda on our next meeting to address what I stated on January 12th. If you want to go back and look at it, it's the last 2 minutes of the meeting. And so I would just like to clarify, since the last board chair put it in place without a vote, I am able to dismantle it, take it away, dissolve it, whatever you would like, without a vote as well. And like I've stated a few times, our board, our current makeup, we need to meet in a retreat setting to determine the direction. In the meantime, I encourage all to attend our next board meeting and speak at the audience of citizens. There will be a 2-minute time limit, and again, we will be discussing the 2-minute time limit in regards to the board policy at our retreat. But it is important that we hear from all prior to our retreat, so we as a board can make a well-informed decision. At any point, if our meeting gets disruptive or there's any level of disrespect in any way, the meeting will continue it online. So I just wanted to, make that announcement prior to getting into our first agenda item, just for some clarity. And now we will move into the discussion of the superintendent's proposed budget. So right here, I have a number of questions that were sent out and answered, and thank you, Ashley, Brian, and anyone else who took the time to answer the questions. We have received over close to 90 questions, well, over 90 if you count what was received today. So at this point, I want to open it up to the members of the Board of Education. If you have any questions or comments that have not yet been answered.
Just to let people know that are watching. Just to let people know that are watching, the questions and answers are accessible on the website. You're able to get them if you're watching and not present. If you're in the meeting, they're out in the front on the music stand.
Thank you. So I will turn it over to the members of the board. Are there any questions or comments? I'll give it a second. Okay, so hearing any, yeah, go ahead.
More of a comment than anything else. I know that, and it is reflected in the Q&A that was provided. A lot of I think all of the schools have a flat operational budget. I know that was requested. It is obviously, I think we say this every year, it's a difficult year. I think we say that every year. Every year is a more difficult year than the next, but I hope that we can get to a point where we're actually adding to some of these line items for other supplies and growth and materials and replacement of old textbooks, and we do a little bit here and there, but to be able to add to our technology line item budget for technology equipment and growth. This is an ever-changing world. What kids are expected to know and be fluent in is changing year by year. So I just hope that we are progressing in the right direction. not just for the sake of the dollar, but also looking at the students as a whole to make sure that we're properly preparing them for college. I was just looking at this list of class of 2021 accepted college acceptances. It's a pretty dynamic list of colleges, and I just want to hope that we maintain this kind of educational rigor and continue in that direction without always looking to make cuts. So, but I do appreciate the efforts of all the administrators and staff putting the budget together. Again, when you look at it, and I keep going back to the bar graph that's included here. I mean, you have out of the 4.67% increase, 3.68 is contractual services, salaries, benefits. I'm sorry, contracted services are out of that, but 3.68 are salaries and benefits. You really have less than 1% of the overall budget that if there are going to be reductions, and even within that, you've got contracted services that you can't really cut. So I just hope that we are mindful that we need to grow as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Adam. And as you can see on the slide, it shows that the 3.68% is just the contractual obligations. The 0.95% are the additional things that we've requested. So would you like to add anything on that?
Just that those additional things, when we talk about contractual obligations, we're talking about contractual obligations for staff members. There are contractual obligations that we don't list in that blue portion of the stacked bar graph. Those contractual obligations would be for contracts with various different vendors, systems that we need to run the district, one of them being Power School, one of them being Atlas, another being Canyon Creek. There's a list of a host of softwares that we use throughout the district. Those we did not include in the contractual obligations, even though they are contracts. We just talked about staffing contractual obligations.
Do you have a question?
Not a question, just a comment. I just want to echo and sort of piggyback on something, a couple of things that Adam said. One is, while I think it's very impressive, the number of colleges represented on the back of that pamphlet, I also think Adam's point of continuing to expand to meet the needs of diverse learners encompasses our desire to make our students both college and career ready. So not just necessarily preparing them for college, but also for pursuit of careers beyond high school for those who choose to do so. The other piece, just a point of clarification unrelated to Adam's comment, just in mentioning for folks who are watching the Q&A that they obviously have access to, yes. These are all questions that were submitted by Board of Ed members, correct?
Correct.
And answered, just so that they know where these are coming from.
Yep.
Okay.
I could just note on that. I think the point of being college and career ready, the one position that is funded in choice is that position to support that. And, we're still looking to, it's the one area that we have put resources to move forward with, so the career piece.
Go ahead, Matt.
So both Adam and Carrie touched on wanting to continue to provide and build upon the education for our students, which I fully support. I think it's important to note that we're also asking our teachers and administrators to do it with less. When you zero out a budget line, that means that no inflation's been built into that line. And right now we know that inflation is going to run 6 to 8%, which means we're asking them to do more with basically 6 to 8% less. And I know that the cost of supplies, paper, and so forth right now are going through the roof. So keep in mind that while it appears to be zero, it's actually a reduction in their resources. So keep that in mind when we're having this conversation.
Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments? So the next meeting, we are going to vote to move this budget forward, if that's where the vote falls. Anyone if anyone has any reason why they wouldn't push this budget forward with what is presented here and the questions that have been answered, if you have any reasons why you wouldn't support it or can't support it, I think now, since we have time and we're only 11 minutes into our meeting, would be a great opportunity to discuss this. So I'll just put that back out there to you guys. If anyone has any concerns with voting this budget forward.
I mean, are you saying voting it forward right now?
No, I said,
Okay.
I said
I
next
just want clear.
meeting, since we have time right now,
Yep.
this would be a great time in our special meeting setting to have a discussion amongst the board, collaboratively on the record, and discuss any concerns that any board member might have right now. Projecting next meeting, if anyone's going to have trouble voting in support of this budget, like, I would like to, get that out there now and talk about it.
So Julia, I'll put myself out there.
Go ahead.
While I think that 4.67 is a very healthy budget, and I would be more comfortable if it came in below 4, I also, through experience, know that typically the superintendent and the administrators don't ask for anything that they don't need. So my position at this point is that I would support this budget as presented, but I also think it's important that the board understand where my head is, and that's that while I prefer to see it below 4, I also understand that Brian and his team are asking for things to move our district forward, and I'm in support of that, so.
Thank you. I know for me, what I look at, if I were to think I'm not going to support this budget or I can't vote in favor of it, of course we think about the bigger picture with our taxes and the direction of our town. However, I look at that number and I think anything that's getting cut are people and programs. And I also know that parents, whenever they feel that their child's education is threatened in this town, they come out and they have the loudest voice. And in my 6 years, that has been. And so I know that if people in program are going to get cut, I don't think that that's what's right and best. I think fulfilling contractual obligations, whether it's programs or people, we need to do that, but we could lose over, between 20 to 30 positions if this gets reduced further. So I think that's just a point to consider.
Can I share something?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I went through the budget more so than I ever have any other budget. In fact, if you see my budget, I have tags everywhere. And I think it sums down to, in my opinion, and the word that I actually shared with several people this weekend. Can I read from this question and answer? Okay.
Yeah.
So some of the questions, there was like 80 some questions, and it all comes down to question or statement 84. And on 84, if people online can read or watch. So it's saying that based on the proposed budget, 3.8 is contractual agreements. So to simplify, just to maintain everything we have right now, that's the minimum we would have to have. I think some people think we maybe add to things and not necessarily are truthful on all of it. And the reason that we are asking 4.67%, and it breaks it down so simply, that the HR position that was shared with the town needs to become our full responsibility now. They're going to get their full-time person. We need our full-time person. And that is 0.05%. And then there's only one other, and that is 0.94%. $452,952 or $50 are contractual services, utilities, transportation, tuition, equipment, supplies. Am I correct?
Yes, you're spot on. One thing we're only asking for
Point two, right.
0.2.
To make it
Make it
a full-time position,
right,
correct,
not
so
a
that we
0.6,
have
right.
our full-time
Right,
position.
yes, exactly, you're
Right.
spot on.
So we're not asking for more teachers, although that would be great. And we're not asking for more paras, which we desperately need. We're just asking to maintain what we have. And the reason it seems so high is, and I think it is what Matt was saying, everything is going up. And we're kind of stuck here. So I am absolutely for this budget. And I like that number 84 breaks it down simply so that I think anyone can understand.
Thank you.
And I choose to share, which I have shared 84 with a lot of people. I think it's simple.
Yeah, thank you for that clarity. I think especially if people at home are watching it or want to go back, and then they can reference that. So I appreciate that explanation. And it's spot on. Anyone have any concerns or issues that might arise at the next meeting? I would like to know so we can, start trying to figure, I don't know, just get an idea. All right, well, please, go ahead.
I just want to thank the board for getting us the questions beforehand, and thank Ashley and the other administrators who helped answer them. It was much more productive to have the questions and then be able to respond to them and then to get them out to you, and if you have questions, to answer them prior. And I hope that the means of posting them online, as well as having them here this evening, is helpful to the public. They'll stay on the website, so anyone who chooses to view the recorded meeting at a later date, they still can access the entire budget that you have in front of you online, and they can access the Q&A of all the questions that you asked.
Thank you. I also want to thank everyone who helped prepare the budget, who asked questions, who answered the questions. I know that it was time consuming, but thank you so much. Does anyone else have anything anyone else have anything they would like to add?
I have a question. It's just in addition to one of these questions regarding the funds that we receive, the ESSER funds. Are we obligated to take that money, or can we not take it and give more control back to the town and the board with regard to making decisions? Because it seems to me that if we take the money, that we're sort of indebted to the state in terms of what we do and not do. Is that correct, or?
Not necessarily. With the ESSER funds, they're a grant. So we don't have to take the ESSER funds that are allocated, but I don't see why we wouldn't. And let me explain why. Those funds can be used in a multitude of ways to address. The one caveat is that 20% of it has to be based for learning loss. But beyond that, the other 80%, so some of the items we have listed in ESSER, one would be the wellness suite at McGee. So that's actually a construction project that is approved under the ESSER funds that'll be at McGee for as long as McGee exists, that we're using those funds for. If we didn't do that and didn't take those funds, we would have to take funds out of our capital to do that. So the way we have the funds set, we're not at a cliff. And what I mean by a cliff is if we put all of our employees into the ESSER funds, which would expire, at some point we'd be coming back saying that now they got to go into the operational budget, which would raise it very much. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So
hang on.
to not take the funds, it wouldn't be a gain for us, in my opinion. We're able to use the funds in ways that are needed, and those funds are not raising the operational budget at all.
So I think the question would be, by not taking the funds, would there be a mask or vaccine mandate? I think that's one of the bigger misconceptions going out there. So do you want to speak to that?
Right now, it's an executive order, so whether you take the funds or not, the mask mandate is in place. So it wouldn't be, if we turned back the ESSER funds or any of the funds, the grants that were given, we would still be required to wear a mask right now with the governor's executive order.
And also, the town also received ESSER funds, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So the town accepted those, and I honestly think if we were to say, we're not taking them because we want to take back control, we're going to hear from a lot more people in town who are going to say, well, now you're depriving our children over hearsay, and I think that's what it is. So as this question came up a lot over the summer, as it being a misconception, I did look into it. We didn't check with the lawyer because I didn't want to spend money on that, but I think it's one of those rumors flying around there. I'm not sure how much weight it holds with the executive order.
If that's what the question's about. I mean, in speaking with the town, and I don't think I'm speaking to spend a town public record, the town's funds, they're looking to possibly replace the HVAC systems at the elementary schools using state funds that otherwise we wouldn't have, that would come out of town funds. And if you look at in our budget, you'll see that many of the items that we have the ESSER funds earmarked to are those capital projects that we otherwise wouldn't have funding for.
Did that answer your question?
Partially. I guess my it's also hard for me to hear. It's just a little bit muffled, so I heard most of what you said, but a little bit was depleted. But I guess I'm just asking, does it come with other contingencies? And I think maybe you did answer it.
No.
Taking that
It
money,
doesn't-
are there strings attached, so to speak?
No, there's nothing long-term. The money expires annually, and it's a 2-year window for some. Some will expire in a 1-year window. I can go through, if the board would like, I can go through, I can ask Ashley to come up. We can put up on the screen, we have the slides, and go through the ESSER. It was in the budget presentation. Would that be helpful to see it?
I think she's wondering if, by accepting the money, do we have to do X, Y, and Z to be in compliance with the
That's
state?
what
No,
basically,
no,
is there,
no,
are
there's
there
no-
contingencies?
There's no strings that, other than getting approval for whatever you're spending the money on. But it has to be spent in the areas that the grant falls under. So those are the contingencies.
Right.
So, yeah, there wasn't any information out there by doing this, you have to mandate masks. I know there was a lot of rumors this summer. I did state that at one of our board meetings back in August or September. But, you know, unless you can find where on the state website or the federal that it says that, I haven't found that, and they're not aware of that, so.
No, I'm definitely not aware of that. Definitely not. In all of the webinars I've been in meetings with the state, that's not been mentioned.
Anything else? All right, so there's one last agenda item. Do we have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Adam. Second by Carrie. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Including Jane.
Opposed? All right, 9-0. The meeting ends at 6:23. Thank you, everyone, for a nice meeting.